too. Great. Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Paravajakacharyato Tadasata Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Sambeda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakhaya Chakshur Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhunam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Dapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavan Eshvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. So it's kind of surprising and actually a very warm feeling to be back here in Brooklyn Temple after being away for so long. You know, I'm not really far away, but I might as well be the other another planet. You know, way out there in Nassau County. I don't know if even people know how to spell Nassau here. It's a long ways away. But at any rate, we're gradually making progress out there, meeting new people and doing various projects out there. We hope to broaden the spectrum of our congregational members as time moves on. So before I start, I thought it's always a good idea to see if anyone in the audience has a question about something. You know, sometimes you get an audience question that completely eclipses the class you were about to give, and you think, oh, that's a great topic, I'll talk about that. So I do have a class planned, by the way, in case nobody says anything. We'll see if you all are too timid to speak up here, but we'll see if anyone out there have a question. Do we have mics to run around to the group? Yes, we have one question there.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, usually we do hear about devotional service, pure devotional service, but usually we don't take up those steps and we lack the courage. So do you have any quick formulas to gain that courage and to go ahead in spiritual life?
That's interesting. What was your name?
My name is Nikhilesh.
Nikhilesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't speak before this, but you hit the topic that I was going to talk about anyway. So I guess that's a nod from Radha Govinda that this was the appropriate topic. At least it's in the same category, because I think that's an issue that a lot of people have. And how do we become more pure in devotional service? How do we get there? And I was thinking about this, and in chapter 12 of Bhagavad-Gita, in chapter 12, from verse 8 through verse 12, Krishna gives a kind of layered approach of Krishna consciousness. He explains different levels of Krishna consciousness, and we can all decide. This is for you all to decide. You don't have to tell me, nor do you have to tell Hansarupa or anybody else. You can keep it to yourself. But you'll decide what circle you want to be in, what level of Krishna consciousness you want to embrace. Because there are different levels. And not everybody is on the same level. So we can think, well, why should I work for the highest level? That's the most difficult. I'll go for a lower level. It's easier. I'll have less problems getting there. But, Radha Govinda may have other plans. There's that famous verse, Yasyaham anugranami harisye taddanam shanai, which is a kind of terrifying verse for most people. Yasyaham anugranami harisye taddanam shanai. That's 10th canto, 88th chapter, 8th verse, I believe it is. And Krishna says, for one who I really love, I take everything away. So sometimes you have one plan, and Krishna has a different plan. But I'm here to tell you, if it's a competition between your plan and Krishna's plan, put your money on Krishna's plan. Because that's the one that's going to happen. And you may get dragged there. I certainly have been dragged there. You have one plan, but Krishna has a different plan. And of course, the first installment of Krishna's mercy is to take everything away. then his next installment is to give everything back in multiple doses, more than you can imagine, provided you are mature enough to actually handle it properly. So we also think, somehow or other, I'm so attached to this material world. And we are, So in chapter 12, in Bhagavad-Gita, we start with chapter 12, verse 8, which is, Mayeva mana adhatsva maye buddhim niveshaya niva shishyasi maya eva ata. My eyes aren't that good. And now my faithful iPad has changed the page. Ata urdvam na samshaya mayeva mana adhatsva maye buddhim niveshaya nivashishyasi mayeva ata urdvam na samshaya. Just fix your mind on me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without doubt. So all you have to do is fix your mind on Krishna. Now, how easy is that? Anyone able to do that 24/7, around the clock? Now, why is it that we are not able to do that? And the reason is we have too many other desires. We have too much else going on. We want to be doing something else. You try to chant Hare Krishna and your mind goes shoo, 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 shoo. We're always thinking about what someone said, what we're going to be doing next, what we just finished doing, what we're planning for the next week or year. And so we can hardly keep our minds just focused on Krishna. And because of that, we can't follow that path. Now, Prabhupada explains that in Vaishnava theology, we have what we call the sadhana bhakti, and we have raganuga or ragatmika bhakti. So one kind of bhakti is based on spontaneous feeling. That's raganuga or ragatmika bhakti. So people in that category, they can focus on Krishna constantly. It's not a tragedy for them, So, even to chant a few extra rounds, we feel our brain may burst open, or we'll have to call emergency services to come and take us on a stretcher or something. But actually, it won't happen. It just feels like it's going to happen. So we have to push our way there gradually. So those who have spontaneous, if we really understood who Krishna is, we'd have a very different attitude. We'd have a very different attitude about everything. If we really understood. We don't. We kind of understand who Krishna really is. But Krishna is the Supreme Person. He's giving us the air we're breathing right this moment. He's doing everything. And if we try to please him, if we try to please Krishna, he will organize every inch of the external world to help us to get closer to him fast. He can do it. He's not a man with no means. He has all kinds of ways of doing things. But we have to be willing. And so that's the top rung. Mayeva mana adhatsva. That's the position one. Always think of Krishna. Why can you always think of Krishna? Because you genuinely know who Krishna is. You genuinely have a relationship with him. And you'd have trouble forgetting him rather than trouble remembering him. So what's the next layer down? We have atachitam samadhatum nashaknoshi maistiram abhyasa yogena tato mami chaptam dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow regular principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain to me. So this is the category that is called sadhana bhakti. So we do not have a spontaneous, overwhelming love or desire for Krishna. What we instead have is we have some knowledge that it's probably the best thing. And we have some understanding that all the religions talk about God, and we're supposed to do something in relationship to God, although God is usually a minor player in our everyday list of priorities. But if we work at trying to follow the regulative principles, what are they? You know, we abandon meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. We try to chant 16 rounds. We come to Mangal Arati. We engage in service. We come together with devotees. We help. We donate some of our money. All these things are actually devotional service. And by doing that, we are opening the heart, cleansing the heart and mind to the point where we'll start to genuinely feel like Krishna is somebody I know. Krishna is somebody I love. Krishna is somebody I want to have a relationship with. He's not an abstraction. He's not a myth by feeble-minded religionists. He's not someone who lived 5,000 years ago as a prince in some kingdom that nobody remembers the name of. He's actually the supreme person. And because he's the supreme person, we can connect to him. And he wants to connect to us, but the material energy is very strong, and we have practiced for many lifetimes ignoring Krishna. So is it any wonder that we have difficulty in reconnecting to him now and here? So this is what Prabhupada usually refers to as the circle. I think of it as a target. In the center of the target is Mayeva Mana Adhatsva, the thinking of Krishna always. Now, next circle out is this Maistiram Abhasa Yogena, or following the principles of Bhakti Yoga. So if you're an archer and you're shooting at a target, you want to hit the center of the target. Of course, you make points if you hit the side of the target or anywhere on the target. But if you hit the center of the target, that's where you really want to be. You want to hit the center of the target. So the centermost point is this Mayeva Mana Adhatsva. The next circle out is Maistiram Abhyasa Yogena, or engaging in the practice of devotional service. What's the next step out? That's in verse 10. Abhyase pyasamarto si mat karma paramo bhava mad artam api karmani kurvan siddhim abhapsyasi. If you cannot practice regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So this is for those who are unable to follow the regulative principles. They can't or don't want to chant 16 rounds. They can't follow all the regulative principles, but they can understand that ultimately spiritual life is where it's at, and I have to get there some way or another. So one can work for Krishna. So this is the third ring out. So you've got center, middle, and third ring out. And so far, all these three Krishna has guaranteed. So if one always thinks of Krishna, certainly you'll come to Krishna. If one engages in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, then certainly one will develop a desire to attain to him. And with this, if one works for Krishna, then you will come to the perfect stage. So this is for people who really have not been able to summon the focus to be able to be initiated or whatever. So this is the third ring out. Now what's beyond this? This is fourth ring. Ataitad apyasakto si karta madhyogam ashritaha sarva karma palatyagam tata kuru yatatmavan. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up all results of your work, and try to be self-situated. So, Prabhupada says, sometimes people may have difficulty identifying with the Krishna consciousness movement. There may be objections from relatives or family or whatever. In such a case, someone should just give up the fruit of their work, karma pala tyagam, So give up some of the fruit of their work for some higher cause. That can be a hospital, as Prabhupada said, or a charity, or some kind of food distribution, or any kind of philanthropic work. Now, by giving up some percentage of your hard-earned work, your hard-earned fruit, which is usually money, by giving up a certain percentage, you become accustomed to the idea that everything that you work for isn't just yours to enjoy. You have to reciprocate with where it came from. Now we can say, well, my hard work brought it all, so therefore I should enjoy it all. But you didn't pay for your air, you didn't pay for your life, you didn't pay for your digestion, you didn't pay for everything else that you get in life. So it's a cycle. Things come from the Supreme, and we have to give some percentage back. So far, we have 4 rings. We've talked about the center ring, always thinking about Krishna because you're in love with Krishna. First ring is you always think about Krishna because you're in love with Krishna. 2 is to work in devotional service because that will give you the desire to always think of Krishna. Third ring out is to work for Krishna, not necessarily follow the practice of devotional activities, devotional bhakti, but work for Krishna. And now we hear that one can just give the results of some of his work to some good cause. But Burijan, in his Surrender Unto Me, points out that Krishna doesn't give a guarantee with this one. He says, if, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up the results of your work and try to be self-situated. So he doesn't say you will come to me. He doesn't say that you will develop a desire to attain me. This is pious action, or what we usually call sukriti or punya. So we can do these things, but they will not in and of themselves direct us to Krishna or purify our lives. They are just a stepping stone. They will certainly be better than us doing sinful activities, but they won't necessarily bring us to the highest level. So I want to just stop here and focus on these 4 levels. There's another level, which we'll talk about indirectly in a minute, but I struggle always to keep my classes simple and on time. And so the nature of attempting to recognize, well, which group am I really in? If I've taken initiation, I should be in group 2. There may be some rare souls that are in group 1, but most of us are in group 2 or 3, and some may be in group 4. So you don't have to tell which group you're in, But understand that if you engage in Krishna's service, you'll never be the loser. And if we take the cassette tape of time and we fast forward it, everyone's going to die. That's where it all ends up, you know. And so what is this crazy place? You know, we've got people, and we've got music, and we've got motion, we've got politics, we've got wars, we've got disease, we've got families, all this weird stuff shuffling around. And we are interacting with it. But one day, poop, we just get pulled right out of the mix, you know, and no coming back, you know, no second try or anything like that. We just get pulled out of the mix. And then we'll think, well, what was it all about? It seemed so important. It seemed so heavy at the time. But actually, now suddenly it's all over. And I realize I wasn't that body because I'm never going back there again. I'm somewhere else. I'm on another journey depending on my karma. So we are learning how to get there. And if you can somehow manage to nicely chant Krishna's name with great concentration, the pain of separating ourselves from the material world will become less. As he was asking, how do we get there? We fear going to Krishna too fast. You know, there's a funny story that's told among Christians, and that is that there was once a man who was really wanting to, develop himself spiritually, but he was pretty timid. And one day he heard that if he practiced with prayer, he could get the audience of God, and God would answer any question that he had. So he prayed and prayed, and God appeared to him. And he said, my dear devotee, my dear Christian devotee, what do you want to know? I'll tell you any knowledge that you could ever possibly want. And the man asked, how much sin can I get away with and still get into heaven? That was his question. How much sin can I perform and still make it into heaven? So he could have known anything, but, you know, it's kind of our mentality that we want to go there, but not quite. St. Augustine had this famous line that, you know, my dear God, I want to give everything to you, but not yet. So we think that there'll be some future time, that it'll happen. And it certainly will happen in the future time, but it'll happen on Krishna's schedule and not on ours. Sometimes Krishna just takes things away. So, but if you chant Krishna's name, when Krishna comes and takes things away, you'll think it's funny rather than thinking it's tragic, you know. Prabhupada, you know, when he was in, I think, Allahabad, he had word sent to him that his servant in, or I don't know where he was, that his servant had stolen the money that they had saved up, and he'd taken some of the, inventory, and he'd fled. And, you know, Prabhupada just laughed at that point. You know, it was kind of, he'd been struggling for years to make it go of being a pharmacist and of making large amounts of money, and everything just turned to nothing. He got, blackmailed, blackballed. He lost money. Things didn't work out. He put in ventures, and they couldn't pay back, and so he was taken off of Dr. Bosch's list of representatives, etc. So if we just try to chant, the pain of separation from our material desires will be less. So we think, you know, some of us have realized that there is really no way out other than Krishna. And the only way to get to Krishna is by devotional service, so we're really trying that. Others haven't quite gotten to that point, and they realize that I have to live a somewhat religious or spiritual life, and we're at a different level. And others think that, I don't really know, everybody's saying so many different things. How do I know what's true or real? So I'll just work the best I can, and I won't hurt anybody, and I'll try to live a somewhat civil life, and that should stand me in good stead. So to get to Krishna, one has to do two things. One has to learn that sense gratification is a losing proposition, and then one has to learn that there is a God, and that I have to surrender to God. Now, some people manage to do one but not the other. So some people, they understand that there's a God and they have to serve God, but they have no understanding that the more they engage in sense gratification, the farther they're going to be taken away from God. And there are others who are on the other side of the coin. They don't know anything about God, but they know sense gratification is a lost cause. Now, there are not many people in that category. That's usually people like impersonalists and Buddhists and people like that who have understood that the more you try to enjoy the senses, the more it's a trap. It never satisfies you. You get pulled in deeper and deeper. But they know that, but they don't know that there's a supreme and that you can't just give up the senses. You have to use the senses in the service of God. All right. So I've said too much. But I want to see if there are some questions, and then we can, what do I have, till 7:45, I've heard? Is that be correct? Yes. Tune is. What's that? Give him the microphone so I can hear him. What? Between the material and spiritual world. Technically, there's no difference. Strange to say, right? But when you're in material consciousness, the material world is all this matter. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Bhumir apo nalovayu kamana buddhirevacha hankara mitya me bina prakritirashtata. So there are 8 material energies: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. That's what we see around us. It's non-living. This is non-living. It doesn't relate to me. It doesn't talk back to me. It's just matter. But it is actually the material energy of the Supreme Lord. If you're on the level where you're actually communicating with Krishna, even this material energy, you can see Krishna in it. And it is not material. Even if you're in the material world, you're already in the spiritual world. However, most of us are not like that. So the big problem with the material energy is it separates us from Krishna. We look and we see walls, we see people, we see floors, we see airplanes, we see cars, but we don't see Krishna anywhere, although Krishna is everywhere. And the reason is that the material energy is hiding the Krishna-ness of the world around us, that external material energy. So if one serves Krishna, then we begin to see that Krishna is peeking out everywhere. That he's actually in the trees, in the people, in the floor, in the houses, in the cars, in everything. But we have to be at a very high level. So that's what the difference is between the material and spiritual world. Spiritual world is that world where we realize everything comes from Krishna and we're in contact with Krishna. That may be even in this world. The spiritual world is like that, but the material world is where we're disconnected from Krishna, and we're in this world thinking that there's all this matter and buildings in New York City and the boroughs and all that stuff, but Krishna is nowhere. So to change the consciousness, you can't do it by knowledge, you have to do it by devotion. As you develop devotion, your view of the world will change. You had a question, Matuna?
Yes, so Maharaj, what I wanted to ask is, from what I understand that Krishna consciousness is really about trying to put Krishna at the center of our life. So my question is that what evidence do we have that we are actually succeeding in doing this? Because it's possible to be doing a lot of devotional service, but we are still at the center. So what evidence should we look for that we are actually succeeding in placing Krishna at the center?
Well, one of the nice things that we have is we have 9 processes of devotional service. You know, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sevanam, what is it? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmini Videnam, Iti Punsarpata, Vishnu, Bhaktis Chen Navalakshana, Kriyeti Bhagavad-Gita Tanmanye Dihita Mutaman. So there are 9 processes of devotional service. If we're trying to do them, then we know that we're basically in the right category. We're doing what Krishna is asking of us. And if we have a spiritual master, he can tell us whether what we're doing is within his conception of reasonable devotional service. So other than that, there is a point where you actually start to see and communicate with Krishna directly. At that point, it's, there's no need for any proof or evidence or anything. It's all history at that point. You are on the other side of the great divide. But most of us aren't that far down the line, so we have to wait for the evaluation or evidence from Scripture and the spiritual master. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Is it possible to make up for mad elephant offense?
For make up for what offense?
For mad elephant offense? For
mental offenses.
No, mad elephant.
Mad elephant offense. Yeah. It's possible to make up for every offense. The nice thing about the whole game that Krishna has made, the spiritual material world, the whole dog and pony show, as they say, the whole thing is predicated on the fact that whatever you do wrong will eventually wash away. Whatever you do actually absolutely right will never leave. So you're only going to win down the line. The question is how soon. So any offense you make will maybe take you out of the circle of devotees for a time, but after some time you will understand your mistake, and by offering obeisances, making apologies to those people that you might have harmed or blasphemed or whatever, then Krishna will easily and completely forgive you eventually for your transgressions. And that's why we circumambulate Tulsi every day, Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahmahat Yadi Kani Cha, that we are walking around Tulsi step by step to get rid of our offenses. And of course, Koladweep in Mayapur is the place where all offenses can be removed. So that's a special place that if you go there, there is no offense that cannot be forgiven if you go to Koladweep. But for most of us, just chanting Hare Krishna, circumambulating Tulsi, and asking people for forgiveness is probably the easier way to do it, I would say. Of course, the mad elephant offense is usually considered the spiritual master.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I have a question, like in modern time, we are always in a kind of some market, right? I'm just giving the example that we are in the bhakti market right now.
Yeah, in the bhakti market. We're
And
seeing what we can afford and what our fancies tell us is most reasonable for us.
Yeah, so what should be our contribution in this market, as a supplier or as a demander?
Well, if one wants to make actual advancement, we have the whole song that Nityananda is a broker in the marketplace, and so he and Lord Chaitanya have come to sell the nectar of the holy name, but they didn't find good buyers. So they did a cut rate bargain basement sale of the holy name, and that all you need is the work, the effort to chant the holy name. Of course, he says, the song goes that if one sees a tear, then the price has been paid. So, at any rate, we should be brokers like Nityananda, and that's the whole purpose of this temple, is to reach out and help people to come in the circle of Krishna, in one of those circles. And of course, be brave. Try to go to a deeper inner circle, and you'll be surprised. That always is a good way to do things. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this, but one year, I forget when it was, I came across the idea of what I call Krishna roulette. You maybe heard of a Russian roulette, where they take a gun and they put one bullet in the chamber and they spin the chamber and then they hold it to their head. And so maybe there's 5 rounds in a pistol, or maybe 7. So you've got a 1 in 5 or 1 in 7 chance of dying when you press the trigger. So I call this Krishna roulette. You come in front of Radha Govinda and you say, "My dear Radha Govinda, whatever you need to do to me to make me a better devotee, do that." And it's kind of like immediately terror goes in the heart, because we know Krishna might do it. So it's like playing Russian roulette. But I always tell myself that he's going to do it anyway. So you might as well get points for being brave and asking him to do it. So Krishna knows what it'll take to make us a better devotee, better than we do. And if we ask him to make us a better devotee, he will do it. And then we have to work at not complaining when he does it, because he will. And it may not be what we hope, it may not be what we like, but it will get us further down the road. And this is, again, more of the answer to how do we become pure. We ask Krishna for help. We figure out which circle we're in. We try to follow what the authorities ask or what our spiritual master asks. We try to understand the 9 processes of devotional service. All these things are a part of the overall process of becoming in that center of the whole, where Krishna drags you in there and you're never seen again because you've gone to the spiritual world. Okay, so looks like we still have some time. Any other?
Is Krishna real? Do you have any evidence to prove?
Okay, just a second. Is he real?
Like vision or
Right.
Do you have evidence to prove this?
Right. Krishna is as real as we are sincere. So we can not be sure about Krishna. If we don't commit to Krishna, if we don't attempt to go deep in our commitment to Krishna, then Krishna will always seem as if maybe he's just an idea, maybe he's just a prince from 3000 BC, maybe he's just a concept, maybe he's an all-pervading something or another. But when you meet Krishna, then all questions are gone. As we find out in the first verse, of chapter 7. So if we go there, Bhagavad-Gita, what is it? Maya sakta manaparta yogam yunjan madashraya asamshayam samagram mam yata gyasyasi tachchinu. Supreme Personality Godhead said, now hear, O son of Pritha, how practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So, asamshaya, which is doubt. So doubt is removed when one does what Krishna has just described here. Practice yoga in full consciousness of me, mind attached to me, then you can know me in full, free from doubt. So to the degree we make an effort to focus ourselves on Krishna, to that degree Krishna will reveal himself. Yeya tam mam prapadyante tam stataivi bhajamyaham mama vartmanuvartante manusya partha sarvashaha. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Kunti. So as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So you surrender a little bit, you get a little bit of mercy. You surrender a lot, you get a lot of mercy. You surrender a too much, you get a too much of mercy. So it works like that, you know, that... Yes.
If we are experiencing different tribulations in our life, does it mean that we are that much sincere, or
That you're what?
Does it depend on our sincerity, how much tribulations or happiness we are experiencing?
That's a deep topic. I'll say this. Usually, we tell people that karma works like this. You do bad things, that's called pop or papa, sinful action. You get bad karma. You get suffering. The various three different kinds of suffering, you know, adibhotik, adiatmik, adibhotik. That's what we usually tell people. And if you perform punya, you perform pious things, you get happiness. And so punya gives you good karma. You get wealth, fame, profit, adoration, distinction. You get strength, political potency, all these kind of things. They come from good karma. That's what I call karma 101. That's basic karma. But there's another level above that. And that is that when a person becomes a devotee, then Krishna usually takes the ledger and writes off a bunch of your bad karma. Things that would have happened to you get removed. However, if he sees you're really sincere, he might use the karmic machine to ramp you up a few steps into marching a little faster. So that's what I call karma 201. It's a different world. Sometimes devotees call that Krishna karma. So, you know, the whole karma system is an impersonal machine that's run by the demigods and the material nature. So the material nature is watching what we do and feeding back the results of what we do wrong and what the results we do right to our everyday life. But the demigods actually understand what the nature of karma is, and particularly Yamaraj is at the center. So he's the one who makes the final decisions and heads various good and bad things our way, depending on what we did in the past, and what we did in the past that was bad and what we did in the past that was good. Now, Krishna is the master of the whole system. So if he wants, he can just throw karma out the window, or he can even turn up the karma if he wants, if it will be helpful for us going to Krishna faster. And that's why sometimes even very spiritually advanced people suffer. And sometimes we see that very evil people seem to be having a good time. They will not in the long run have a good time, but at least for a time being, because their bad karma hasn't caught up with them yet, they will have a good time. And then they'll hit the elements of their bad karma. But ultimately, karma is up to the demigods, but beyond that, it's up to Krishna. So that's karma 201. So if we're engaged in devotional service, Krishna may make things easy for us, or he may make things even harder. So, because he wants to purify us more quickly. So I think that's it. So thank you all very much. All glories to Radha Govinda, all glories to the Vaishnava devotees, and all glories to Krishna, who makes the process of